Very good morning to everybody. I am audible.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes, very good morning. So we are going to discuss ethics in the research. In the last class, we are discussing about that how ethics. First of all, in the last class, we had discussed about what is really ethics, and then we had discussed that what is the definition of the ethics. Then we had discussed that how ethics can be undertaken in all the stages of our research. So we are discussing that how ethics can be undertaken under the literature review, as well as how in the research methodology ethics can be undertaken by a research scholar. So in the last class, we are discussing that how ethics can be taken in research methodology as well as in our literature review. We had discussed some of the things related with the ethics in the research. Today we are going to discuss that what are the ethics in our surveys. So these are related with our research process, that how a person who is going to collect the information on the basis of questionnaire method or sampling method or survey method, how ethics can be also undertaken by a research scholar when he is going to undertake research methodology under the process of or under the methodology of questionnaire sampling or field survey. First is the harm that the persons or the participants to whom you are going to ask the questions, they should not be asked any question. They should not be harmed physically or mentally by asking the questions. So here ethics is that you do not harm him in any way. You should not give any physical harassment or the mental harassment. Second is the consent. Consent of whom or which persons. Person, generally it is understood that the chief of the or chief of the family or chief of the house or the master must be taken in confidence. He must give the consent for asking the questions to the members of the family. And secondly, again, he must ask the questions to whom he is going to ask the questions personally also. So participants must be given informations about the aim of the aims and objectives of your research. As far as possible, you should not hide anything about your objectives of the research, why you are going to ask these questions to the person concerned. And permission must be given or consent must be given also. There are some forms also, written form, which can be signed by the participant as well as the researcher who is going to ask the questions also. Third is the deceptions. Deceptions means you should not attract the participant by attractive words, by your physical behavior, or by any giving some money to that person's cheating any persons by physical behavior or by any attractive words is called as deceiving. So when you are going to ask the questions, you should not project yourself that the participant may reply in a different manner. So you should not deceive the participant. Further, the questions which are going to be asked by a person, by a research scholar to the person concerned, the privacy must be maintained about the members of the family, about the participants to whom a research scholar is going to ask the questions. So this is also coming under the ethics purview. Again, confidentiality, that there should be a promise from the researcher that he should not reveal the identity of the respondent or the participants or the persons to whom he is going to ask the questions. He should not, after the research, when the research is over or questionnaires are over, he should not cheat him. His sentiments and emotions are being honored by the researchers also. He should not reveal any things which are sensitive to participants or the members of the participants or the family members also. So these are some of the things which must be undertaken by a person concerned. Again, there are some of the ethical considerations how it can be undertaken by a things. How we will go to about getting your participants concerned, how a person is going to take concerns. So first of all, he should contact with the head of the family to whom whose member is going to be asked the questions. So there are some of the points that how you are going to make questions and how you are also taking considerations of ethics related with asking the questions. How will we show that your participant have given their informed consent, know fully the implications? You have to judge also that how much you are able to get the answers of the questions from the participants. How will participants' confidentiality and anonymity be maintained? You have to, a researcher must take some of the points that how this personal things which are very emotional or sentimental should not be made revealed or should not be made public. How personal data be processed. Now the replies from the participants or the persons, how you are going to process these questions, because these are very sensitive and very confidential also. How the participants will have access to your results. Sometimes participants are also very much cautious or aware that the interview which has been taken by the researcher, how much it has been fruitful in any manner to the researcher, and he would like to know the results also. So there is a ethical considerations related with the research scholar that he must share some of the things to the participants also. There are some of the committees related with the ethics also. You might have seen in the universities, in the departments, in the institutions, there are some of the ragging committee for the students also, for lady teachers and others also. These committees are supposed to take considerations that is something which are moral in behavior should be maintained. The juniors must not be ragged by the seniors also. So these are some of the things we also come across in our universities, in the department level. And there are so many harassments to the juniors also, to the there are some of the gender inequalities in some of the universities and the institutions. So these are the committees which are taking considerations related with these. So they assess whether researchers have made enough ethical considerations in the research proposal, also help in ethical planning of the study. So whatever the researches which have been undertaken by the researcher, they also assess their that how much they have been taken. And these committees are considering scientific quality, welfare of the participants, respecting their rights and dignity and contribution aspect. These are some of the things which these committees are taking care of. They think that whatever the results which have been taken from the participants, whether there is any scientific quality also. Scientific quality means that whether they are having any logic and reasoning statements related with the research or not, whether there is any harm of the participants or not. There must be welfare for the participants. These committees are taking care of this. Even the rights of the participants and the dignity of the genders, they are being taken care of the ethics committee. Even there are some of the committees of the teachers also, lady teachers and lady girls students also. So these rights are being taken that they should not be harassed by anything. The contributions of the participants, what are the main aspects of these? They are also considering also this. So now we are going to discuss that how these participants or the persons who are taking care of how the ethics can be undertaken by these. So there are some of the points which are taken or treated by the researcher. Honor the research participants' trust. There is a ethics related that a researcher must give the honor to the sentiments and emotions of the participants. They should not break the belief or the trust of the person concerned, because after believing or having faith, they have spoken some of the things which are beneficial to the society or to the betterment of the nations. Anticipate harms and protect them. If there is something which is harmful to the society, to the persons to whom they are going to ask the questions, they must be protected. How you are going to give the environmental protections or the nature protections or the family which needs protections in any way, how these can be given. You have to approach the government agencies for the protections of these. You have to inform the administrative bodies of the government how they their sentiments and emotions can be protected. Avoid untrue intrusion means that you should not interfere in the affairs of the family of the participants unexpectedly or whatever the things. Sometimes negotiate informed consent. So there must be that a form can be signed in between the participants and the researcher and consent form must be signed also. I will give you the examples of the consent form, how these are being undertaken by the researcher as well as the participants also. Maintain the rights to confidentiality. A researcher must maintain the personal affairs or the confidential matters related with the family or the part of the or the participants also. Offer fair return for assistance, whatever the participants they have given you some support for your research, they must be given some remunerations for that, so that they can also think in better way. Recognize and address participants IPR. You should also uh, give the honor of their names and the address of the participants, and these have been taken from the book, The Ethical Guideline for the Good Research Practice of the Association of Social Anthropologists. So these are some of the things which are related with the field survey or the questionnaire method or the sampling method when the research is related with the anthropological or sociological aspect of anything there. Now, how the consent form or the participants are informed the consent also. So providing substantial understanding. So all important facets of the study are explained in simple language. First of all, what are the objectives of your research? What are the aims of your research? It must be understood by the participant in the simple language. It must be explained by the researcher in a very simple language, the language which is very much comfortable to the participants. Sometimes you are going to ask the questions which are very remote, having the not facilities of all things. They are very remote areas. They cannot speak the good languages. They can express their own ideas. So, but there must be any persons related with their society, so that they can also explain the thing in a better manner. So that can be a intermediary persons can be also searched for making understandable all these things. Sometimes it happens that research participants were not able to understand the aims and objectives of the research, and they have given their answers to the questions, and later on they understood, then they make some problems also. So they must be informed initially all these things. Controlling influences, all influences that can obstruct independent thinking are blocked. So you should not influence all these participants related with all these, that what you are going to ask the questions. Then coercion or absence, the irresistible threats are avoided. You must be aware that there should not be any threat to the personal affairs of the family or the society. It should be avoided. The next is there should not be any manipulations through the money or the any influential persons or the member of the parliament or other things, so that they should feel depressed or anything. So subtle hints for the desired response are avoided. Offering material information, documents discussing issues that can affect the respondent are given in advance. So you must supply some of the forms also. If you remember, we had discussed when we were discussing about the questionnaire method, that what type of how you have to ask the questions, and before asking the questions, you have to give the details of your informations related and how, where you are registered for the research, and who are the sponsors, to which is the university or the institutions to whom you are associated with, that you have to inform all these things. Again, effective communications, full mutual confidence is established for if they are not able to understand, there must be some persons who knows the language of that society also, and that way the effective communications can be taken, so that they should know about the aims and objectives of other your research, what questions are being asked also. Sometimes the questions are prepared earlier, and these questions are being also supplied to the participants earlier also. So written consent is ideal, but sometimes verbal one is enough. Sometimes it creates problem that I had not given you the statements. You should not print it or make it public also. Then it becomes very much embarrassing for the researcher also. So written consent is very much ideal, or it may be undertaken by a researcher. Which consent is to be obtained must be determined carefully. I have already discussed that the head of the family, or as well as the member of the family to whom the researcher is going to ask the questions. So these are some of the things how you have to in the covering letter. If we in the sampling in the questionnaire method, we had also discussed that in the letter you have to introduce yourself in the beginning, give your name and the institutions, briefly describe the survey topic. You have to give the name of the topic, title of the topic, inform about the geographic area or the sector covered, which area or the mm, mm, so locations to whom you are going to make a survey of all these things. Tell who is the sponsor, describe the purpose of the research. That is the aims and objectives. You have to make it clear also. Then consent procedure, that give fairly good estimate about the participant would be engaged. So you have to give a clear picture of your research, that what are your aims and objectives, what you are going to ask the questions, then promise anonymity and confidentiality. You have to make sure that their sentiments and emotions cannot be made public, or their questions should be made confidential. So tell the participants that their participation is voluntary. This is not compulsory. This is only voluntary. Inform that question non-response is acceptable. That if you are not answering the questions, you are not giving the response of the questions also, that can be also accepted by the researcher. Ask permissions to begin and re-coordinate the interview. So before asking the questions or beginning of the questions, you must seek the consent that we are going to start the interview also. So this is the simple sample of the consent form, how researcher is supposed to take consent form from the participant or the person concerned, how he has to approach and how he has to get the signature of the participants. So these are some of the points which must be written down and they must be signed by researcher as well as participants also. So this is the sample. It may be changed accordingly when the questions are related with the question, anthropological or sociological aspects, how the questions are. So first, I have read and understood the information sheets. Whatever the information sheets related with your name and the institutions, sponsors, and the aims and objectives of your research. What are the questions which you are going to ask? These are made clear to the participants and informations have been given in a very clear manner. So researcher will sign it that I have read and understood the information sheet. I agree to participate in this research. Second, third is I understand and agree that the research may be recorded. If you are having the recording system, you can also record the interview also, because sometimes if there are not written at the moment, then some of the things may not be remembered. So it must be recorded and later on it must be given in a written form also. I understand the research may be disseminated in different forms and what I say may be quoted. So this is the third one, that whatever you are saying, it must be quoted by that the participants as said like this. I agree for the said disseminations of my quotations as long as what I say is anonymized. So I am fully agree that these answers may be quoted as long as what I say, but it is not anonymized. It should not affect any sentiments and emotions of the research participants. Last is the I understand I can withdraw my consent and participate from the research at any time, and from any specific aspect without giving a reason also. Sometimes it happens and the participants is free to leave the question what he is going to ask. So these are some of the name of the research participant, signature and the date, name of the researcher, signature and the date, then researcher's contact details, and the research participants, he should also give the address also, mobile numbers and email IDs also. So these are some of the things which are the, this is the, and first of all, in the beginning, on the top, there will be title of the project also. So it must be signed for making it more clear that it should not be made any harm to the participant, or participants should not take it in another way also. So how debriefing participants, how participants are intentionally or accidentally deceived, inform them about the following after a study completions. We have already seen that by your physical appearance or by attractive words or by influencing by some of the persons, the participants must not be deceived. They should not be cheated. They should not be intentionally or accidentally deceived. So after the study is over, then he must be informed and he should give explanation of any deception. Sometimes it happens that you are asking some of the questions intentionally or unintentionally also. So sometimes if it is ethical, it is coming under the purview of the ethics, you should explain of any deceptions to the participants. Descriptions of the real purpose of the study with the salient features. How these questions were framed and how the questions were asked to the participant, you must give the descriptions also. Then post-study sharing of the results. After the research, how these results are being shared to the uh, public, to the betterment of the society, to the betterment of the nations. Post-study follow-up medical or psychological attention if necessary. If there are the questions and the results which are beneficial for the society in the sense of health and psychological aspect of the person concerned, if they are necessary, it should be made public or made clear. It must be published in the newspapers or in the seminars and conference proceedings also, if they are being presented the anthropological research or sociological research. Then next is what are the elements of the confidential aspects, how these are taken, and how this comes under the purview of the ethics. So elements are provision on further disclosure resolved. So it should not be disclosed or released. It should be banned or it should be not made clear. So method of storage and handling paper records, how the questions and answers these were asked and they were typed, how these are made in a record form, how you are putting them in a research data. So this can be taken. Methods of electronic data storage and transmission, encryption method, network security. If the electronic data were undertaken for the interview from the participants, they must be stored in the office or some very confidential things where they are put. Methods of statistical disclosures. What are the statistical data? How these the methods were undertaken for these? So it must be not disclosed. Description of disposal of data upon terminal of the study. So any data which were removed at the time of the interview or the study, it should be described. Penalty for breachage, if there is any break of the consent form or any confidentiality related with the trust and the belief among the two, in between these two participants and the researcher, there are some of the penalties which are being given by the agencies or by the government institutions also. So what is the privacy related with the ethics? Let us discuss in a very brief manner. Privacy is more important than other many things. So refusal to participate. Some of the persons who have not participated in the questionnaire method or the question method, it should not be made clear public that someone has approached or researcher has approached to someone and he has not given the answers. A refusal to answer any section or the questions, it should be not made it clear. Choice of the place for the interview. Sometimes the consent is being taken from the researcher as well as from the participants that what will be the suitable place for the interview also. So it should be made not to made it public also. So the researcher is supposed to do these following aspects that inform participants about their rights. Participants have the rights to know the results of the research also, how these are being made public and how they are being published in a research paper form and other things. They have their own rights. Researcher must obtain permission to interview or observe them. Schedule interview, field or telephonic. You have to make the dates of the interview with the consents of the participants. It must be processed through the by approaching to the participants by a researcher or through the telephonic or mobile medium. So limit the participation's time. There must be given time because each one has its own precious time. So it should not, if the participants has given only half an hour, he should not be taken more than half an hour. So this is also coming under the ethics also. No observation of private behavior. So what are the private affairs of the family or the participants or the person concerns? It should not be any made public, and for that you should not have make any observation of that aspect also. So what are the things which are generally being cheated and how they are being given informations to other things? So there are some of the tools for the laboratory where the observations are being done as per their choice, as per their statistical data which they need for their own research. And these are some of the manipulations in the laboratory or in the labs also. There are some of the measurement tools which can make their results as per their choice also. So these are some of the things. So these are coming under the safety norms of violations, non-validations by re-experimentations. So it must be verified or tested. So what are the ethics related with the, whenever there are anthropological or sociological data or the medical data which are being undertaken in the laboratory, how it should be avoided. Reporting the results without actually performing the experiment. Sometimes experiments are not being taken and results are being reported to the person concerned. So we have seen that there are some of the irregularities in the medical labs also related with the blood samples and other things. The experiments are not being done, but based upon the past observations, the results are being reported. So observations without following the standard procedures. There are some of the things for making observations. There are some of the things related with the medical that some which are very much beneficial for the medicine shops. There should be more market of the medicines. For that, some of the standards are being altered to suit the market policy of the person concerns. Even the blood pressures and blood sugars tests which are being conducted, the samples which are being collected by and they are tested. Some of the alterations are given to suit the market of the that. So this is also coming under the ethics and it should be avoided. Knowing dropping informations from the report that may compromise the study. So it should be avoided that any informations can should not be dropped. Maneuvering calculations to make the results match the intentions. Whatever sometimes in the laboratory also the results are being manipulated to suit the researcher also. So there should not be any manipulations or maneuvering calculations by the researchers. Related with the data collections in cyber space, we are having that there are so many nowadays cyber shops are coming out in the market and informations are being gathered from the or the materials are being also gathered from the cyber shops also. So data can now be collected through web-based surveys or even by electronic devices and thereby infringe the privacy. There are some of the ethics related with our computer also, laptop also, how there must not be anything. So we'll discuss related with the computers also, how a research scholar should undertake the research following the ethics also in the coming slides. But here, obtaining personal information from the electronic identifications document like credit card without informing. And second, collecting data through mandatory requirement and sharing it with others without seeking permissions. So here, sometimes without information, the personal informations are being collected through electronic data. And without seeking any permissions, the mandatory requirements are being shared with others without having permissions from the person concerned. Data collections in cyberspace, not allowing participants to check the database for knowing the personal details. Even the laboratory also personal details of the are not being shared to anyone. If anyone shares the informations of other persons to anyone, this is also coming under the ethics. It should be also coming under the cheating of other things, not a sharing of the results with the participants. If you are not showing some of the things which are not very beneficial to the researcher and you are not sharing the results, easily. So data mining is a powerful data processing tool that can fathom association between the various database items beyond normal computations. This tool should not be abused. So there are some of the data mining where the data are collected. It should not be. This is the only processing tool, but it should not be misused by any researcher. So there are some of the data masking also, that is the cross tabulations, aggregations, suppressions, random rounding, controlled rounding, confidentiality, editing. So from the book, like access and confidentiality issues with the administrative data in studies of the welfare populations, data collections, and the research issues. So these from this book, it has been taken that how cross tabulations, that is the information should not be in a table form. or informations in minimum number of units. So as much as the numbers are there, the results will be different also. It's the information should not be suppressed. It should not be given below certain size. Random rounding the data cells randomly. If the medical test, if you see, there are random tests for the blood sugars or some of the other tests also. So, but it is in rounding form. How you are giving the rounding, it cannot be taken it seriously. So it must be in a very simple manner. So not simple manner, but it should not be hidden. So it should not be taken by researcher. Perfectly edit altering values for a small sample. So how you are making changes in the your results, it is also coming under the data masking, tables of magnitude data, avoiding the display of the sensitive data. If there are some of the things which are sensitive or emotional, and you are avoiding the display of this is also coming the data masking. So balance view, it is that research scholar must follow the middle path. He should be balanced in projecting all the results of the research. So theory and there are some of uh, the arts related with the biasness. So these are the theory and the knowledge. You had accepting new proven ideas. So if there are some of the thoughts and the ideas which are proved already, and if you are not accepting or you are avoiding those proved ideas, this is also coming under that you are not biased, you are biased, you can say, and you are not in a rational manner, you are taking the things. Advocacy bias, claiming one's work as the best without limitations. If some of the research works which you are thinking that these are the best without having any limitations, you are not using other research work and you are saying that this is the, and when a research scholar is having the only that I will go through the only these works, I have to limit these sources only. This is also coming under the biasness or yeah, under the ethics also. It should be open. Use of the tools familiar to one is only promoted all the time for all the problems. So whatever the methodology or the technique which are familiar to one, it is also promoted all the time for all the problems also. Then normative bias, that goal value attached to the results, it ought to be like that, that how you are making a normal view related with the your goal of the research. So it should not be like that. You are so going beyond of the normal things. You have to think over it, and there are some of the biasness related with the disciplinary. That is the multi-dimensional problem is viewed from one's discipline alone. Now there is a age of multidisciplinary research also, and these multi-dimensional aspect of the problem cannot be viewed from a single point of the discipline or single discipline. So it must be judged also through all the disciplines which are undertaken by the researcher. So now there is a, if you are taking only one discipline for your research, it is also called as a mm, biasness. Limitations of the disciplinary tools are often glossed over. So it should not be limited that you have only these tools or the techniques for the disciplinary things. It should be also taken like that. Omnicompetence bias, that posing as an expert on any issue is the tendency. You are taking that this is the only expert any issue. This is also not very fair. So it also comes under the biasness. Psychological bias, how does one draw the frame of the reference, depends on the psychological makeup of a researcher. So how do you think that this reference comes under this psychological aspect? It depends upon the researcher that how he is thinking about it, and which can tilt the experiment and interpretations, how the thoughts of the or the ideas which are being undertaken by a researcher, how this is coming under the experiments of the interpretations, and the values and the bias, presenting results without cross-checking and filtering possible bias introduced due to personal values. Because of having personal values, you are not making a cross-checking of your possible data or the things. You are just blocking the other things, and you are only whatever you have got the result, you are stick with that. So this is the, you can say the things. Now sometimes how the researchers are behaving related with some of the things of their topic or the research. Some of the statements are fabricated, they are interpolated by the researcher in the thesis or the research papers also. And some of the statements, they are reporting them as a true outcome, which are really not true in the true manner. So the fabricated statements like news reporters, which are they are giving, they should not be made interpolated or should not be fabricated also. If you are giving any false statement as a true statement, this is also coming under the misconduct. You are manipulating research process to suit the objectives of your research also. So you are observing some of the data related with your research that it will suit your hypothesis, then this is the falsifications. And the last is called as misconduct is very important, which we will discuss in a very detailed manner. This is called as plagiarism, copy or paste, the taking of ideas of thought of any scholar, and without quoting their statements, you are writing in your own name. This comes under the plagiarism. Even it is seen that your research paper, which has been published in some of the journals, and in the next research paper, if you are writing the same ideas which have been discussed in your previous research paper, and you are not giving the reference of your research paper which has been earlier published, is it also comes under the plagiarism. So any statement which have been already published by the author himself, and he is again writing in the research paper. He must quote the previous published journal or the book, whatever he is writing. So using other person's ideas or the words without giving due credit and verbatim copy of one's own research is coming under the plagiarism. So this is these are called as misconduct related with the research. It is also a part of the research. So in the next class, we'll discuss about plagiarism, that what is the plagiarism, how this is more serious in our research. So there are other misconducts related, that not disclosing conflict of interest, ignoring outliers in data without declaring, not informing about missing data and redundant publications. So these are also coming under the misconduct, that you are not disclosing where your interest of the research is coming. And then the uh, outliers in the data, without declaring, you are ignoring this, and some of the missing data which are not being informed that this is not available in these collections. So redundant publications, you are not making it public also. So in the next class, we will discuss about the more plagiarism, that what is plagiarism and how does it affects the sanctity of our research also. Week again, next week, tomorrow we will meet again, and then we will cover the last portion of this ethics related with research, that is the plagiarism. What are the bad aspect of the plagiarism, how it has been defined by the scholars, and how the researcher should follow these aspects. So, okay, see you again. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow.